All right, Gerald Celente going right back to you. Calls coming up the next segment. When you say this is the greatest heist in history, I don't think people understand. You really mean that. Well, 23.7 trillion, and they're grabbing every sector of the economy. And the green tax, the carbon tax, allows the bureaucracy. I have the bill that they passed in secret, now public. As you know, I want your take on that. Allows federal agencies to raise taxes on toilet paper, beef, everything. I mean, this is government becoming God. You call that fascism, don't you? Go ahead.
Well, the merger of state and corporate powers, according to Mussolini, is called fascism. So if it quacks like a duck and walks like a duck, let's call it a spade a spade. It's fascism. And to pick up on the second part of what you were saying, and I was saying, was that first they went through this whole scheme of the money printing. Well, that's going to run out, as we're seeing now with the diving of the dollar and other currencies other countries looking for new reserve currency. So the next scheme is to tax the people to death. And whether it's hassle taxes, again, current events form future trends. Pick up today's USA Today. Look at the parking ticket numbers that they're putting out there. Boy, if you jaywalk, they'll give you a ticket. Spit on the street, but rob the country blind, you can get an award for it, or they'll make you a Treasury Secretary. So the scheme, Alex, is after the printing game runs out, it's the tax to death game. And this whole thing, this whole notion of too big to fail, who came up with that one? I can say with full authority that their mother's not better than mine. What would happen if they failed? No one's ever told us. But yet we hear from Henry the Don Paulson at the last House Oversight meeting saying, quote, Our responses were not perfect, but I am confident that they were substantially correct and that they saved this country from great peril. Oh,
well,
yeah?
Look at how this psychology works. They can rape, they can steal trillions. They engineered the crisis on record, and then they're the savior. And if you don't give them what they want, they'll declare martial law, as Paulson threatened last year. Now there's been articles in the news, as you know, Gerald, saying how good it was he threatened martial law and how he's above the law and how the private Federal Reserve is above the law. The president isn't, the Congress isn't, the courts aren't, but they are, because they're the Eddie Haskell bankers.
And they're more than that, as I said. They're the Wall Street Mafia. It's Henry the Don Paulson. You read the New York Times, he bullied Congress. Bullied Congress? What do you mean bully? Who is this guy to bully Congress? Oh, and there's Jamie Legs Diamond from J.P. Morgan. And there's, who's that guy from Citigroup that would put this whole grand scheme together? Sandy Greedy Pig Weil. No, let's call them who they are. They're robbing this nation blind. And the people are either drugged, we have gone from the home of the brave to what's happened to this country, that we have become so subservient and so federally dictated. We're not free and we're not brave as a nation. You know, people can make fun of the French all they want, but boy, the French got it down. Look what happened when that company was trying to shaft the employees out of their severance pay. You know, they threatened to blow the place up and all the equipment in it. When they do boss snappings, these are the people that brought us off with their heads. They know what it's like to be living under a tyrannical government where they say, let them eat bread. Now it's give them some health care.
Well, on top of this, when you look at the French, when they try to plant GMO crops there, the farmers just burn it down. And I don't know how Americans were always known as the quickest to stand up to tyranny. Now we're known worldwide as kind of the suckers. How did that happen?
Boy, I have to say, you know, you are what you eat. And look what this country eats, and look what they look like, and look what they've become.
Yeah, we just became decadent. We're the great-grandchildren of really hard-working people, and we become a bunch of slobs, myself included. We got to get our dignity back and not be so cowed. Gerald, I want to take calls and get into where you see all this going, how you see the revolution breaking out, and a lot more. The website is trendsresearch.com.
Are you concerned for the safety of your loved ones? Listen closely to this message from pepperspray.com. Every 22 seconds a violent crime is committed. America has changed, and your personal safety is your first priority. Be smart. Be safe. Trust pepper spray instead of your luck. Pepperspray.com is the only website you'll ever need for all of your non-lethal self-defense supplies. Pepperspray.com carries one of the largest assortments of pepper spray and personal safety products on the web. From big to small, we have it all. Pepper spray, mace, animal repellents, stun guns, and tasers. Pepperspray.com also carries a large assortment of products for personal, home, child, and pet safety. Enter SAFE in the coupon box and you'll receive a special discount off of your order. So what are you waiting for? Go to pepperspray.com. That's pepperspray.com or call 1-800-908-9988 today.
Gerald, I'm just going to throw this at you in the cold. I don't even know what your view is on this particularly. What do you think of people getting out of paper and moving partially into silver or gold? Is that generally a smart idea?
Well, we don't give investment advice, but I can tell you that I'm 80% invested in gold, and I keep buying it. And my strategy, by the way, is that I also hedge my currencies in the sense that I'll own dollars, but I'll also own euros. One goes up, the other goes down. I just want parity to keep what I have. This is about wealth preservation, and to us, gold is the wild card. But having said that, as you may or may not know, in our December 2001, we had said that gold prices had bottomed, and we've been bullish on gold since, and we're predicting in our forecast of gold 2000.
Really? Do you have an idea when?
No, it's hard to tell because, as you well know, these markets are being highly manipulated.
Sure.
And around the world, people are bailing out of bucks, as we spoke about earlier, and they're looking for a new reserve currency. I mentioned earlier that the Obama administration is holding out, coming out with their budget projections, waiting until the dead heat of summer when everyone's in a vacation state of mind and Congress isn't there. So there can be some very earth-shaking developments that are going to rattle the dollar. So it could happen at any time, but always remember that the game is going to be manipulated, because once the world wakes up to the idea that their fiat currencies aren't going to be worth the paper they're printed on, there's going to be a huge run to gold. Another very important aspect: there's only one member of the G20 out there that's really criticizing America for its stimulus, recovery, bailout, and buyout packages.
Germany.
And why?
Because of gold issues.
And they know what it's like. These are the people, the Weimar Republic. They still have the people alive that told the stories of going to a supermarket with a wheelbarrow of money. And they know how it happened, because they printed phantom money out of thin air based on nothing and producing practically nothing. So that's why we're bullish on gold.
But the bankers, to kill hyperinflation, aren't just loaning the money. So instead, you have everything imploding while they print fiat to buy up real infrastructure. And then, from the experts we've talked to, I want to see if you agree with the general economists we've had on, that then later the hyperinflation comes as an added nightmare over a depression economy, the untold superstorm or perfect storm of hyper-stagflation.
Yeah, that's very true. And depression, actually. It's hyperinflation and depression. Look at the numbers. You well know, depending on who you talk to, the effective unemployment rate is 18.7%. Others are saying the unofficial rate is 20%. Mm-hmm. So that's what we're really looking at. People going, these kids going to college, where they're going to get jobs doing what?
That's what I was about to say. You were saying the next big bubble is the college bubble. They're going into debt now for jobs that aren't even going to exist. And the commercial real estate, as you said on the show a year and a half ago, starting to implode. They're saying that's the next big one. Give us some of those trends. But going back to gold, because we've interviewed so many experts who are bullish or bearish on gold, but all of them acknowledge that everybody should be partially in gold and silver as a hedge against inflation, as an emergency parachute to just protect wealth, to make sure you've got something that can't be dissipated overnight like paper, but that speculatively, it's also the biggest boon in speculative, because if the dollar does implode or other major currencies, they're all over printing right now, as you know, that's kind of their answer, is global inflation kind of at parity, that gold could go to 3,000-4,000.
Well, it can. It really can. You know, they keep, and then if there's war on top of this, because who knows? They keep talking about bombing Iran.